Okay, Assalamualaikum class. This would be uh, the first video that you should listen for your research methodology. So the question is how to construct your research methodology. So in this video, I'm going to answer what question to ask in constructing your research methodology. Okay. So the key points in the research methodology is it should include a consideration of the concepts and theories which underlies the methods you have chosen. So you have to discuss on the methods, you have to include the concept and theories. Tak boleh saya nak pakai method AD method tapi saya nak tukar-tukar. Saya nak skip design. No, you cannot do that. Okay, you have to follow the methods you have chosen, and if you want to adapt it, you need to you have to discuss or mention where you adapt the model. So apa maksud adapt? Contohnya dalam awak punya development dia ada a deploy. Dalam punya SDLC awak ada apa dalam sistem development method awak ada deploy. So you tak ada nak buat deployment, you tak akan buat nak implement dekat kedai tu pun tak sempat. So you mungkin nak remove deploy. So you have to mention and discuss in your chapter 3 dekat nak discuss kat mana? Dekat overview of the methodology 3.1. Okay, discuss why you have removed the deploy phases. Okay, so justify why a particular method is chosen. The justification you can put it in a literature and you can re-mention it in your chapter 3. And when describing the method, it is necessary to state how you have addressed the research question and hypothesis. So yang ini not your level yet lah. Okay, tapi you have addressed the problem that you have mentioned. So dalam method akan tunjuk macam mana awak selesaikan masalah yang awak dah identify and how you want to construct ataupun to develop the proposed solution, and should be described in enough detail for the study to be replicated. Apa maksud detail? Contoh, simple example. Student selalu tulis, okay, dia kata dia buat design. Okay, dia design the interfaces. Kalau yang buat system development, design clear. You design physics, buat logical design, you buat ERD and so on. Tapi yang student multimedia, dia kata you buat design. How you do the design? Okay, awak pergi jumpa orang tu ke, awak design suka-suka sendiri ke, based on what? Okay, and then certain thing ialah antara lain yang selalu jadi isu. Okay, you mention you want to use a certain theory. You want to include a queuing theory in your appointment schedule system. Okay, so you have to show where this theory will be implemented. Kat mana? Tunjuklah step mana, bahagian mana, dekat design ke, dekat development ke. Okay, dalam design ada part, contoh dalam design, okay, ada part queuing, so you will use this algorithm to develop ataupun to solve the queuing process. Okay, and then these are the key points. So designing the research methodology, you have to recall your objective and scope of work. So you have to identify which phases will answer which objective. And then, kenapa nak kena ada scope? Kenapa nak kena tahu scope? Okay. Supaya you punya methodology tu within the scope of your development. Janganlah nak selesaikan masalah dunia. Tak payahlah nak buat contoh sistem untuk parcel UiTM. Tak payahlah nak buat UiTM seluruh Malaysia. Pilihlah satu kampus saja. So bila you ada scope, okay, the functionality of the system akan berbeza lah. And then apa lagi, you have to describe detailed procedure on how you do things. How did you identify the requirements? Who were the people involved? Why them? Where did you meet? Interview, observe them. How many? Why are you convinced the number is enough? What did they tell you? So you have to describe all this information in your methodology. And then, after you identify the requirement, how did you proceed with the design? Did you adopt a previous idea? Okay. If you adopt, where did you adopt it? Who are the author of um, the design? Why did you design as such? How did you confirm your design meets user requirements? Okay. So macam mana ya ni yang LR membantu? Sebab tu kalau yang buat saya minta you compare, you identify what are the features, what have been done before the similar project with yours. So awak tahu, okay, orang sebelum ni buat macam mana and they are successful. Okay, so you want to follow them with some alteration, with some kata improvement. Okay, so and how did you develop your system? Did you adopt a previous idea? Why did you develop as such? How did you confirm your development meets user requirement? And how did you test your system? How do you assess it? Most of you state the last chapter is to evaluate your system. So how you test your system? How do you evaluate? Okay, who tested them? Why them? Okay. So when you describe the methods, you have to provide reference accordingly, particularly if you adopted or adapted an existing methodology and methods. So you need to provide a reference. Okay, avoid unnecessary detail. This is not instruction manual. Okay, write in the third person passive tense, data pre-processed that were performed. However, for your proposal, you have to write in future tense. So dalam chapter 3 untuk proposal ni, you have to write it in future tense. So this data will be collected. Kalau dah collect, contoh memang dah collect data, dah settle collection, data collection, you dah buat interview, okay, so you akan guna passive tense. Tapi kalau tak buat lagi, will be developed, itu akan jadi future tense. Don't introduce discussion or conclusion in these sections. Jangan discuss, use diagram or figures to illustrate the process, to point out the important features. So these are among the questions that you might ask before you choosing or when you are choosing a method. Okay, so you may stop this video, think about it, and try to answer it. Okay, and then data collection. So some of you might need to collect a data, and in your evaluation process, you mentioned that you will need to evaluate your system, your project. So data collection, there are two types. First is secondary. Okay, secondary sources. Okay, daripada contoh proceeding, journals, you have daripada publication, daripada contoh ada yang tanya saya pasal COVID sources, so you ambil daripada data tu you ambil daripada KKM or maybe daripada database, online database, contoh macam Kaggle. Okay, and second type is primary sources, which you may do, primary sources ni is the owner of the data. Okay, so ada dua cara, sama ada you buat qualitative or quantitative. So kalau you pergi interview, itu adalah qualitative. And then it is an open-ended questionnaire. Kenapa open-ended? You akan ada soalan, tanya jawab tu kisah ada, tapi dia mesti ada question lah kan. So you have to report it in your methodology. You can report lah. And then maybe quantitative, close-ended, and or experiment or simulation. Okay. So quantitative you bagi soalan ataupun you buat eksperimen. Contoh siapa yang buat BI, you mungkin ada part evaluation. You have to evaluate your model using Confucian metrics, for example. And then ada beberapa kali eksperimen, you compare the accuracy and many more. Okay. And so, and the software and hardware requirement, describe software and hardware needed in order for the project. So does not need to in a very detail, but every important things are highlighted. So kalau you pakai software apa, you have to decide which databases you are going to use, which DBMS you are going to use, which software, which hardware. You nak pakai QR, mana nak scan the QR, so you nak pakai telefon spek apa, and so on. Okay, these are example for hardware. This is for hardware requirement and the software requirement. Okay, class. So that's all for this video. I wish you all the best. And if you do have a question, please do not hesitate to ask me a question. So kalau segan sangat tanya dalam group PM, ataupun PM lah. Tapi mungkin lambat sikit lah reply kalau PM ni. Ya kelas, okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum.